Hello, hello, hello. Hi, everybody. I'm going to give it a few minutes for people to come in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I feel like I should be playing some music or something. What's this? So I'm looking at this. Looks different than it was before. I haven't been live in so long. Back in the I'm back in, what is this? Now wait a minute. What is this called? This is not supposed to be Mommy Dearest. Let me see something because I might be live on the wrong thing. And if I am, I will go ahead and get off of here. I've been doing so much though. Let's see. Hi, anybody that's in here. Sorry, I'm trying to get myself together. Okay, I am live. Perfect. Okay, I am live. Hi, everybody. Hi, Chrissy. I'm all discombobulated. I haven't been live in so long. I logged back into this and now it looks different. It looks different than it did the last time I was in here. So I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on? I'm trying to get reoriented. This is not the name it's supposed to have though. I'll tell you that much. But I'll rename it after the fact. How are you guys? Let me see who all is coming in. Hi, Chica, D Nice, Spark Joy, Chrissy, welcome. Let everybody know we are live. Some of these are going to be like, I'm going to go over some stuff that I've gone over in previous lives. One, because there was a live I did from 2 years ago that was specifically about the subject matter that is all up and through this new trophy wife ISIS situation, like verbatim to the T. So there's that. And also, I did a live a few months ago where I was talking and talking and talking, but nobody could hear me and nobody told me that they couldn't hear me, but y'all rocked out with me. So I love y'all for that. I appreciate the support. But I was talking about some situations where unfortunately single mothers had, well, one particular single mother had lost her son to a family friend beating him to death. And then the other part of that one was a clip where it admitted Shimon was telling you basically the process that he used and a lot of them use to pick out um their victims. So trigger warning, trigger warning, trigger warning. You know, it's going to be a difficult discussion. You know, the things we're going to talk about are going to be very sad and can be triggering. So just want to let y'all know. Hey everybody, Kenny, Chica, Chrissy, Spark Joy, D Nice. How y'all doing? Thank you for coming in. Thank you for being here. It's been a while. First get some pleasantries out the way. So I am back in school. That's amazing. Having a pretty good time with that. Actually, no, I was having a hard time at first because I signed up for school at kind of the last minute because I thought I had missed the deadline. And then they called me like, hey girl, why you not signed up for classes? So I signed up for a couple classes. But because it was so late in the game, I had a bit of trouble securing my textbooks. I got one textbook which was fine, but the other textbooks were sold out. And so I went through this whole rigmarole, wasted a little money trying to get a textbook, and I got the wrong textbook once. Then I went on the mod retreat for Themis and Thoughts channel. And I was like, okay, my new textbook came in. So I thought I was going to get some work done on the train ride to DC. No, that wasn't going to happen. Because when I went to sign in using those credentials, it seemed like that was the wrong stuff too. So I was just stressed out. I was like, I'm not going to think about it. But for some reason, I decided not to throw that card away with the hey Tiff, with the information on it for me to log into my textbook stuff. So when I got back, like the week after, I tried it again and it worked. So I'm grateful because that was $100. That would have been $100 wasted on a book. So very happy. But other than that, school is going swimmingly. I am enjoying myself, feeling very proud of myself. Yeah, and we got some other really exciting, important things that'll be coming up within the next month or so. So just stay tuned. Just know something is coming. We're going to be making announcements. So really excited about that. But yeah, we are going to be talking about specifically the ISIS / the new trophy wife situation. If you haven't already, make sure you go back and watch my short video I dropped this week about my feelings about the situation as far as my knowledge at the time. Now, there are new details that have surfaced, new players in the game, so to speak, that are bringing quote unquote information or whatever. Honestly, though, none of it really makes a difference in terms of, my opinion on the situation. It doesn't really change too much of anything. Like I said, based off of what I said, my main focus is the fact that as a mother, she was willing to admit she was wrong and course correct and, blow all this shit up just to get back on track with her children and give them some safety and stability. So that's all I really care about. That's all Level Up Single Mom cares about as a platform. That's what we're all about. So that's that on that. So what I'm going to do is to kind of set the tone and just, I guess this is my moment of like, I told y'all, but not really I told y'all, just like I've been on this over here. This type of situation highlights the embarrassing, uncomfortable, messy, dirty, shameful things that I always allude to when we're having conversations over here. Like single motherhood is full of situations that have this kind of energy around it. Even if it's not this extreme of a situation, there are a lot of potholes that women can fall into as single mothers, because there's so much that you have to be in control of. There's so much you have to be cognizant of. There's so many ways that things can go wrong. Like so many things that even though they are completely out of your control, you're still expected to somehow be able to control all of these things. And that's not always going to be the case. So, but yeah, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Sorry, I'm trying to figure this out. I told y'all I haven't been here in a while. And so camera, media. Why does it look like this? I don't like this. I'm sorry, y'all. Oh, you know what? Let me do what I can do right now that I know I can do. Video. I'm going to do the intro and then we can get started. No, I don't want that. Why is it saying slides? I'm sorry, y'all. This looks completely. Oh, maybe because of something that I didn't handle on the back end, which is my bad. But you know what? We're going to skip the intro for right now because this is important and I don't want to get caught up in all this mess. I don't know what's going on. So we ball. But I will go ahead and share my screen so that we can get into this. So I'm just going to play this. This is probably going to play for a while because I already have commentary and everything, just to set the tone of like what we're talking about here. So this is one of the channels that just kind of tell you what's going on. It's not it's not an actual clip of the show, but it works better in this case too, because we don't have to sit here and watch a whole bunch of stuff. So this is 140. Okay. Let me share it. I'm getting better, y'all.
Green. She starts panicking once more as she tries to find her husband and son. A few moments later, Annie sees George running so fast. She calls George and he hugs her tight. George looks down.
So let me backstory. She is down there. That's her son. She's married to a new guy, or she's about to get married to this new guy that is not his father. And they're out at a place, and you know, the baby's kind of acting a little off. He seems like he's just trying to get away from them, and that's where we are now.
As Annie tries to comfort him, inside a medical tent, a nurse is seen.
Oh yeah, and also important, she went away from him and the stepfather. So the stepfather and him were together alone for a while. So just needed to put that in.
Tending to George, who is still dazed up until now. Joe enters the tent and asks Annie what happened. Annie says that George hasn't told her yet. The nurse asks Joe if he's George's dad, and he says yes. Annie clarifies that Joe is the stepdad. Joe narrates that George told him that he needed to go to the bathroom, and George started running away. Annie tries to convince George to tell them what happened. Eventually, George tells them that a monster is chasing him. He adds that the monster that chased him has black eyes and tried eating him. Annie clarifies if it's a person who chased George, but George says that he's sure it's a monster. It appears that George has a sprained wrist, and Joe wraps a bandage around it. George is sleeping at the back of the car as they prepare to go home. Annie expresses to Joe her worries about George.
Okay, so here we go. This is a woman. She is a single mother. She meets a new man. He seems, prior to that part of it, like he was helping the little boy. The little boy wanted ice cream, and she was being the mom and just saying, hey, you know, he don't need no ice cream right now. He's like, come on, he's okay. Get him some ice cream. So seems like he's a good guy. So then we'll move forward to, this is in the future. I believe it says it's 14 years in the future.
I see George leaving. Joe asks George a science question, but he answers incorrectly. Joe tries to hug George, but George avoids it and shakes Joe's hand instead. Joe tells George to come home before breakfast tomorrow as they have a flight to catch. George agrees and leaves. After the party, Annie...
Okay. So that adds more context to what's going to happen next. So 10 minutes and 20 seconds.
He runs to George and hugs him. The next morning, Annie tells...
Just want to give you... Sorry, I keep popping in, but I want to give you context. So come to find out, that night when George didn't want to hug him, they were having a party. The husband is a doctor. The husband was getting some kind of award. So they were having this big party celebrating an award. A friend of the husband made a comment to the wife about being poor before meeting him or whatever. And she seemed offended. So then George wouldn't hug him. This other guy came to the party and was trying to say something. She stopped the guy, like had him escorted out. Then the next day, a friend of theirs comes and tells them that the husband is being accused of basically dealing with children, messing with children. So she's been going through it, and this is where we're at right now.
Tells George that the monster that he's talking about when he was a kid is inside their house last night. Annie apologizes to George for not believing him when he told him about the monster over a decade ago. George is clearly confused and asks his mom if she's on drugs or drunk. Annie says that she isn't and says that the monster broke the windows and the furniture last night. George snaps at his mom and tells her to sit down. He tells her that he wants to talk about what happened at the festival. George asks Annie to say something, but Annie says that she has already forgotten what happened at the festival. George becomes frustrated. George tells Annie that Joe abused him at the parade, just like how he abused the girls. Annie dismisses this and asks George about the monster instead. George says that the monster story was all a lie, and the monster that he talked about is Joe. Annie screams at him and runs upstairs. George follows her up.
I'm gonna pause that right there. So this goes back to my point in talking about understanding what it is that we really truly are looking to get out of being with any man. So both the fathers of our children and another man. Like, what does it mean to us to have a man in the house? What does it mean to us to have a husband? What does it mean to us to be chosen? Because we have to be really, really open with ourselves and intentional about understanding what that is, because those are the cracks that bad people can slip into to be able to take advantage of our children. And those are the things that'll cause us to cover our ears, cover our eyes. Let me see here. I'm gonna go ahead and let this part of it finish.
Upstairs and tells the whole story. When he and Joe went to get ice cream, they stopped at a bathroom and went inside a stall. That's when Joe abused George. George was able to run, and he found Annie in the crowd and told her everything that happened, but Annie acted like she didn't know anything. Annie explains that she pretended that she does not know anything because she and George had nothing, and marrying Joe is their quickest way into being rich. Annie tells George that he now has money and he gets everything that he needs and wants. George tells Annie that he's failing college and he's already on academic probation because his trauma is hindering him from performing excellently. George pleads to Annie to say that she knew what Joe did to him at the festival, but Annie says that she didn't know anything. George tells Annie that the reason why Joe married her is because she will keep her mouth shut in exchange for his money and the expensive things in life. George says that he feels drowning in life because of the trauma. Annie remembers the moment George whispered to her about Joe abusing him inside the bathroom stall. Her face looked surprised, but she didn't say anything. She leaves George and goes to the bathroom. Annie went to the bathroom and George asks her one last time if she knows that Joe abused him back at the festival. Annie doesn't answer, and the disappointed George leaves the house.
Okay, so I'm not going to do the rest of it. There's a few minutes. Basically, she's hallucinating. She's been hallucinating this monster that he talked about all them years ago when he was just trying to appease her. And she pokes her eardrums out, and then she still hears the music, and finally she has to come to grips with what she's done. Now, I want to take a moment for everybody to catch a breath. Again, I want to reiterate, this is not me saying that every single woman who tries to be with a man is willing to sell out their child. This is not me saying that every single woman who tries to live hypergamously, who has a child, is going to sell their child out to, a child toucher. I'm using this purely as an illustration because it was just convenient to illustrate the point that there are things. It may not be letting somebody touch your child, but it may be letting somebody around that's neglectful of your child. It may be letting somebody around that straight up shows open hostility and resentment towards your child. It may be somebody that flat out tells you, like, I don't give a thing about that child. What are we doing? And pretend your child does not exist. It may be somebody that you're just dealing with just to have some place to live. Because let's be real, we're not all messing with, everybody don't got money like that. Where she's saying, oh, he's getting his college paid for and anything he wants and needs. That is not our situation. However, again, it's about being honest with ourselves about what it is we're really trying to obtain, hold on to, achieve, that we would position ourselves and our children to have a situation, like the guy was saying, where we have a man in the house, but he's not a present man, and he's not a man that's actually going to pour into the child and create a sense of stability and safety for the child. It's mainly for our comfort and our pleasure. Let me see here. I don't think this is that passage. It might be that passage, but I have another passage in my book. Oh, okay, yeah, this is where I talk about, so in my book, I say, no matter how much you spend on extravagant clothes, toys, or trips, if you do not proactively deal with the negative feelings you harbor about the harsher realities of your situation, they will manifest in the form of mood swings, risky and or overindulgent behavior, and an unhealthy to the point of obsessive need to try and control people in situations that aren't, never were, and never will be in your control. So I have a list of things. I'm not going to go into each and every one. I'm just going to stick to the ones that are relevant to this conversation, but I will just highlight what they are. Each of them have like their own explanation, but I'm only going to go in and explain the ones that are relevant to this conversation. So she can be a combination of any or all of these characteristics. So there's combative, aggressive, permissive, neglectful, overindulgent. In this case, I want to talk about permissive. So under permissive, I said allowing her children to run all over her and anyone unlucky enough to be in their vicinity, and allowing men to use and abuse her and or her children. So what I'm saying is, like, it's clear she made a distinction. It's clear she made a choice, and she said, hey, we're poor. We don't have a lot of prospects. This man is providing us not only, shelter and provision, he's rich, so we can just live a life that we never would have been able to live otherwise. And like I said, even though we may not have access to that type of wealth and things, there are things that we feel like we can't get any other way because we are single mothers, or because we're poor, or because we're black, or because we look a certain way. And if this person looks like they're offering it to us, that we may turn a blind eye to certain things. Like I said, it doesn't necessarily have to be SA, but it happens. Like, we can't pretend. I don't want to be this place where we do like the others do and pretend that things that happen on our watch don't happen. You know what I mean? But I'm not here to lambast anybody. I'm not here to try to shame anybody, but we need to talk about it. We need to work on it. So we need to be really, really clear with ourselves and do that internal work to make sure that we are at a baseline of just sovereignty within our own lives, that no matter what's going on, no matter what someone else is willing to give us or not give us, that we're not going to fold on our integrity, and we're definitely not going to sell ourselves or our children down the river. So I thought that was very, very important to highlight the downfall of male worship
male. And again, I want people to understand that I don't have a problem with people coupling and having relationships, but I would like to see more healthy relationships. There are so many people that are in relationships that are actually situationships, or they're in relationships, but it's like they're not really connected. They're just kind of there. They're going through the motions. I call it just being stimulated. Like, you're not being nourished. You're not being motivated. You're not being fed. You're just being stimulated. And so as to not just be what you think is dead, you'll just have this person there that'll stimulate you. So they'll give you some money, or they'll give you some attention, or at least you have a ring, or whatever it is that you tell yourself to keep going. And so that was the male worship section of that. So then we'll go into the second section, which is male avoidance.
Sorry, yeah, I'm still trying to reorient myself with this. It looks so much different than it did last time. So, I wanted to speak to this, and I just wanted to kind of set the tone of like where my mindset is about it, and because this is like right on the nose. That show is almost verbatim what's going on right now, aside from a few like slightly different details. It is really important to understand as a mother what you're going for and why you're going for it. And so in my video, my short video I did earlier this week, I gave her a lot of props for mainly being willing to say, hey, I made a mistake. And this was the impact of the mistake I made. And, I'm upset. I have egg on my face. I don't really know what to do, because I think a lot of the reason why women won't do right by their kids, even when something bad has happened, because they aren't willing, like the lady in that clip, to reconcile with the implications of the choices they made prior. And the reason I think that's even more relevant now is because people are saying that there's indication that she probably did have awareness of what might have been going on right around her, but she was so focused on maintaining this facade of being the trophy wife, of maintaining the prestige of being, the woman who other women are coming to for this guidance, for, strategy, for the bag or whatever, that she just wasn't focused on checking on her children, making sure they're okay. Like, there are clips showing her doing her live streams, doing her makeup, whatever, and you can hear the baby in the background. And either she says that the man, they're with their father or whatever, but she doesn't move when the baby's crying and saying ow and things like that. Now, me personally, I, I'm a mother of two, so I know sometimes kids just make noise, and she does have other children, so kids can just be fighting, arguing, you know, fussing and tussling. I'm not willing to just jump down this thing of saying, oh, yeah, she was completely complicit and knew everything about it. I don't know. But I know that that is something that happens. You get what I'm saying? It could have happened in this case. I'm not invested into whether or not it happened in this particular case. Like I said, the part that is the most valuable to me in this platform is her willingness to say at whatever point, yeah, I did the bad thing. I was wrong. I need to atone. I'm willing to let everything crumble in order to get back on track. That is the most important thing to me. Also, also, I had mentioned in my other video that I felt like a part of what led her to this point where something like that did and could happen was her focus on having a man. She told the story of how her and her husband, I don't think they're divorced just yet, her husband met. And all throughout that story was indication that she was so focused on being chosen. She was so focused on being, a wife, and a wife to a certain type of man, that she was making egregious mistakes in terms of, how fast she was moving, not taking the time to actually assess who this person was. And she had almost immediate feedback in terms of the folly of that, because she did disclose that her husband had assaulted her. Mind you, this is after, I will say, a total courting and then, marriage time of a month. I'm giving her a month, but technically it was in the span of a couple weeks that this man assaulted her 4 times within the um first couple weeks of their marriage. And so that was, to me, immediate feedback saying, hey, you may have moved a little fast here. This might not be a safe person. And again, this is not to drag her for her mistakes, because I'm going to say it as many times. So if you're tired of hearing stuff repeated, you might as well leave one out of here, because I'm going to keep saying she did the right thing, being willing to say, wait a minute, this is too much. This is going too far. I'm done. That can happen anytime. It's not going to, we are not perfect. We all have our own stuff going on. We all have our own issues. We all have our own pain points. And that drives us. As we saw in that clip before, that woman was more concerned about their safety and security and them living a certain type of lifestyle instead of just being poor and um, struggling all the time. And that's a real thing for a lot of us who come from nothing, for a lot of us who grew up in poverty or somehow found ourselves in poverty. When you have kids, that's a major thing that's not to be discounted when people are concerned how we going to eat. And not only how we going to eat, but like, I don't want to just have 4 walls. I want us to live well. I want us to have opportunity. I want to be able to send my kid to the best schools. I want to make sure that they're not being made fun of the way I was made fun of for not having the right clothes. And all of those types of things are real live things that need to be handled and are viable and important. The issue is, though, when we are not clear as the adults and as the protector for our children about what our issues are, what our pain points are, what our triggers are. And so then we leave room for foolishness and fools to come in and hurt us, hurt our children. That is something that is very important to be cognizant of. And for that reason, I'm going to go. I have other clips because there was a. Oh, wait a minute. Don't play. No, no, no. I have other clips that I want to share. So I did a live a few months ago where I was trying to tell the story of a woman who had a son. Sorry, who had a son, and she was doing that thing, like I said, where you feel like you're supposed to have a man around for the best, being pushed to us that having a having a man in the home is preferable and better for children than just being a single parent and doing what you got to do and loving them and doing the best that you can. um they're always pushing this notion that having a man around somehow validates the family and will keep the children from falling into the traps of poverty and, just not being good people, not being good kids, all of that type of thing. It's not, again, I want to reiterate, just because this is leveled up single mom, I am not against people coming together in healthy relationships. I'm not against, if you can find a viable partner and build a family, I love to see it. I love love. You know what I mean? And I love to see people loving on each other and being loved on in a healthy way. And I want the best possible outcomes for any and all babies and women. But that being idea that, oh, you got to have a man in order to be doing right by your child needs to fucking go, because that's not the truth. And so I'm going to show you something that, again, trigger warning, trigger warning, trigger warning, speaks to what I'm talking about. What can I do? Not this. We're going to share the screen. Okay.
and beaten to death with a piece of lumber. Prosecutors say this unbelievably heinous crime was all because Chance Crawford wet his pants. Now the man trusted to babysit little Chance is charged with murdering him, and the prosecutor is promising justice. Welcome to Crime Fix. I'm Anjanette Levy. This case is beyond disturbing. Chance Crawford was a 6-year-old boy with a family who loved him. They said he had a bright smile and that he lit up any room that he walked into. He loved watching Mickey Mouse Clubhouse and Sesame Street, and his family says he was smart and inquisitive and also a great artist. Chance should be here with his family, making them laugh and going to school with his little classmates in California. But Chance is dead. Orange County prosecutor Todd Spitzer says a man who was trusted to babysit Chance murdered him by torturing him. The details of what I'm going to tell you are so disturbing, and I only share them because I think it's important for you to know what the prosecutor said happened to this little boy. And it sounds like this may not have been the first time that Chance was possibly abused. Last Friday, around 1:30 a.m., the DA said Ernest Lamar Love, a 41-year-old man, took Chance to the emergency room instead of calling 911. Chance had been dropped off at Love's barbershop in Placentia at 6:30 the evening before, so his mom could work the night shift at another hospital. It was Chance's third day of first grade. Less than 3 hours before Chance had been taken to the hospital, the DA says that surveillance video showed Love walking into his barbershop with a piece of large lumber and Chance reluctantly following behind. Doctors at the hospital found that much of Chance's flesh was missing from his rear end and he had gaping wounds. There was extreme swelling and other injuries consistent with violent shaking and swelling. And the DA says Chance had a healing fracture on his shoulder blade, so possibly he had been harmed before. The DA says after beating Chance with the lumber and pouring peroxide on his wounds, Love forced little Chance to do push-ups, sit-ups, and jumping jacks, and then Chance collapsed. Doctors and nurses tried to save Chance, but they couldn't despite their best efforts. That beautiful little boy died this past Tuesday afternoon. He should be here. Kids wet their pants. It happens all of the time, and it's no big deal. What the district attorney has described, absolutely beyond words. Placentia Police Chief Brad Butt issued the following statement. Placentia Police Department detective, from submitting a claim to uploading documents to signing cons, all of the claim at forthepeople.com/YouTube takeover. Kimberly Eds is the head of public affairs for the Orange County District Attorney's Office. Kimberly, thanks for coming on. Case is just simply unbelievable, these allegations and what Chance endured.
The fact that you have a babysitter who was entrusted to watch over a 6-year-old little boy who just started his first week of first grade, and then that week ended with him being brutally beaten with a piece of lumber because he urinated himself at a park is just absolutely beyond horrific. It's honestly every working parent's worst nightmare.
Can you tell us anything about Chance's mother's reaction? I mean, I can't even, reaction just seems like such a cold word, but I can't imagine getting that phone call.
She had dropped off Chance after his third day of first grade to the barbershop where his babysitter worked while she went to work as a nursing assistant at a nearby hospital and worked the night shift where the babysitter was supposed to be caring for Chance overnight until she returned to pick him up in the morning. I can't really get into her reaction. It is an ongoing investigation regarding some of the details of what exactly happened. But it's something that you would never, ever expect to happen. You would expect that you would be able to pick up your little boy the next morning, just as you had other times in the past.
Had she ever indicated that there had been an issue with Ernest Love as a babysitter before?
I can't get into that.
Right now, the charges are what the charges are. And he's facing, I think, 32 years to life in prison plus 5 years if convicted. I mean, does the DA's office not see this as potentially a death penalty case?
It's still too early in the investigation to determine whether or not those charges will be elevated to a special circumstances murder. But the charges that we filed currently are felony murder, 1 count of torture, and then 1 count of child abuse resulting in death, which will result in a maximum sentence right now of 32 years to life plus an additional 5 years in state prison.
Felony prosecutors see awful, horrible things, and just reading about this brought tears to my eyes. It's unbelievable, the allegations that you all are making and that what Chance went through in this case. I just can't. It's unbelievable. The DA spoke about this in his statement about how horrific this was. Can you elaborate on that?
I mean, you have an instance where a defenseless 6-year-old child was just so savagely beaten to the point that you have his flesh is literally falling off of his little body. And then to add to that, having hydrogen peroxide on his open wounds. And then when he was taken to the hospital unconscious because the babysitter did not call 911 and instead put him in the car and took him to the hospital himself, doctors found that he had been deprived of oxygen about 15 minutes and his little brain didn't have any oxygen at all. And he had severe bleeding on the brain. He had a subdural hematoma, and he had other injuries that were consistent with him being violently shaken, which resulted in his brain just not being able to survive such a savage beating at the hand of someone who honestly was supposed to be protecting him. And I don't think this is just a case that just breaks the heart of every parent. I think this is a case that breaks the heart of every single human being who has an ounce of compassion and knows that children are supposed to be protected and not be subject to any kind of violence, much less a violence that is so severe that it killed a little tiny boy.
A question we get all the time is, how do you do culinary school online? And
this person, Ernest Love, had been dating Chance? Had this been an ongoing situation where he had been watching him?
Our understanding is he had watched them previously, but I just don't know the length of time.
Is there anything else you can add?
No, I just think this is a powerful reminder of that you really need to know who's around your children and make sure that your children are in the safest environment possible. I mean, children, they do what they're told. I think one of the most disturbing things about this case right now is the fact that there's video that shows the little boy walking behind his babysitter who is carrying the piece of lumber, and he's reluctantly walking behind him into the barber shop. And then, a few hours later, he's being carried out after being beaten, having hydrogen peroxide poured on him, and then being forced to do sit-ups and push-ups and jumping jacks to the point where he collapsed. I mean, it's just such a haunting image, and that you just can't get out of your head.
Kimberly Eds, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I wanted to tell you just a little bit more about Chance from his family, from the GoFundMe page that they posted. They said that basically he was such a good artist. These pictures of his favorite character, Mickey Mouse, actually looked like they came from a Disney movie. They said that he was their shining star and he had so much more life to live. Adante Pointer was a criminal defense attorney for many years. He's now a civil rights attorney and he's based in California. Adante, this case, it's almost made me cry several times just reading through it. Your thoughts as an attorney?
Well, as an attorney, I see that this is a man, a monster that needs to be held accountable for what he did to the fullest extent.
Sorry, I'm just stopping it because I know I've been playing it for a couple minutes and give everybody a chance to just kind of breathe and take that in. We are going to watch this part of it, but I just want to highlight too that because I don't remember, like I said, this was from a couple months ago and I couldn't find where I had did the outline about this particular live that I was doing. So I don't remember the timestamps, but I know some of the details. One of the main details about this was she met that man at church. She met that man at church. I don't believe they were romantic, but she had seen this man as someone who could be that male, father figure, authority figure for her son. And I think that's so important in this case and in the case of ISIS. There are these things that are embedded in our psyche that says only a man can do this for you. Only a man can provide this for you and for your children. And so, like I said, we're willing to make these compromises that endanger us and our children because we think that the only way we can access this thing that you're supposed to be able to provide your child, that you're supposed to be able to secure for yourself as a woman, as a viable, valuable woman in society. We're willing to make these concessions in order to obtain these things. But we don't know who the fuck these people are. Like at the end of the day, we don't know who these people are. And the thing is, I wish I could say, I know I made the mistake of thinking that, oh, well, if it's this person's child, they won't, they'll be more apt to be righteous in how they deal with this child. Because that was a big fear for me is, oh, well, if I'm so worried about having a man, then it's going to be the wrong kind of man. And they're actually just there to touch my child or whatever. But in ISIS's case, it was their own father. And I'm not trying to fear monger here. I don't mark it in the idea of like, oh, I'm trying to sell you the viewpoint that, oh, you should never be around a man, this and that and the other, and you should fear all men and this and that. But I mean, all I'm saying is never, ever, ever think that it's beyond you to be in a space where you're just like, hey, I don't need no niggas around me. Because sometimes that's the best thing you can do for yourself and your child. We all make mistakes. We all get into stuff over our head with things. And unfortunately, sometimes that includes having babies. But don't ever, ever, ever allow anybody to make you believe that you are supposed to have a man around you and your children, and that you are not being a good mother if you don't have a man around your children. With money or without. But I just think it's so heartbreaking. This is something else that I want to emphasize too, that people tend to just go into, oh, well, she should have did this, she should have did that. Hindsight is always 20/20. But it is normal and human and healthy to believe, to have faith, to believe in having good things, to believe that you can have good things, no matter what has happened in your life, no matter what you've done. It makes sense for women specifically. Being a woman and a mother is such a lonely thing. It can be such a lonely thing. So it is not wrong of you, and I'm talking to anybody who's listening who it applies to. It's not wrong of you to desire companionship. It's not wrong of you to desire help and camaraderie and support in what it is you're doing. It's a big deal. So the fact that people keep, weaponizing this idea of, oh, well, that's why she shouldn't have won. That's why I want to be really clear when I'm saying I don't feel like you need to have these niggas around you. I mean that. But I'm not going to fault you for wanting it. I'm not going to fault you for still being like, maybe, can I? Is there a way? I'm not going to fault you for that because that's human. And it makes sense. And it makes sense that if you chose to have a man around you, that you would trust them to be around you. Because if you did not trust them to do that, you wouldn't have them around in the first place. So don't let anybody make you feel stupid for trusting someone that you chose to have around you. Where you need to start feeling a little weird about yourself is if you're saying to yourself, I don't trust these dudes, but yet and still you're still pursuing situations where you can have them around you, pursuing situations where you can take all your clothes off and open up all of your orifices to them with the clear thought in your mind that, okay, I don't trust them. That's where it's a little wonky, right? But if you still believe in love, if you still believe, don't fault yourself. That doesn't make you naive. That doesn't make you stupid. That doesn't make you inept or a bad mother. That makes you a human being. But once you get that, once you've been burnt a few times and you're feeling like, oh, well, I can't really trust these dudes, don't fool yourself into thinking you can keep playing these games with them. Don't fool yourself. No. You need to get really, really clear about what it is you're trying to do, what it is you're up against, and what the pitfalls can be.
The law. And it's the type of case that, as attorney, you see, you just always back to how it's so horrific that people can do these type of things to humans, to other people, to, in particular, a kid. An innocent child, which is innocence, and frankly snatched his life. And so you could just there's a saying, there's a special place in hell for people who do things like this. And of course, he has to be tried and convicted. And that's the process that he's looking at. And frankly, he should be held accountable through that process.
It's unbelievable what they has described here. And yes, this man, Ernest Love, is innocent until proven guilty, but the allegations here are so beyond the pale. I just can't even imagine this poor child enduring what he endured. And you talked about accountability. I can't imagine somebody going through with something like this, that what is described in the documents and in the DA's statement. You practice criminal defense. What drives somebody to do such a thing?
There's an ability to almost like disassociate.
Agora Cyber Charter School is ready to put over 18 years of being a leader in online
yourself from the acts that you're committing and the idea that you're doing this upon a child. Clearly, he's having to ignore crying, screaming, pain, the injuries, the blood, the just the brokenness of a kid. You have to have an ability to just ignore all of those things and continue on with your attack and your onslaught. It's to the level that most, if anyone, would not even be able to withstand after just a short while of witnessing it, not let alone to be the one inflicting such corporal punishment and essentially death.
I want to step in here too, and that's why I say I don't mind these dudes out here line in their little spaces or whatever on their little podcasts, because this is very important. And that's why whenever some dude is talking about, oh, well, I don't get to be in charge and I don't get to, discipline it. This is why you gotta, let me go back. Where the fuck was he? Sorry. You see this? You see this Joker? He looked like a lot of people, and they all be saying that same stuff. Oh, I need to be able to discipline. That's why I don't want to deal with single mothers. Good. We don't need you around because you're focused on the wrong fucking shit. You're focused on the wrong things. If you're so worried about being able to discipline somebody's child instead of worrying about, oh, do they have what they need? Do they have, am I teaching them anything of value? Am I teaching them how to be good people? Am I teaching them how to work and support themselves? Am I teaching them to be respectful of themselves, and other people, not just me? I said this about that whole Resilient Jenkins situation. I did a TikTok about it. And I was saying, like, I don't have a problem with families And I don't have a problem with women wanting to partner and make families and build families with men. But I have a problem with these men thinking that they're supposed to have their own special little kingdom, and it winds up being the children that play the role of the peasants. Because these men don't have no power in life. These men, and mind you, this person, he had a barbershop, or he was a barber. I think he had a barbershop though. It was his barbershop. He clearly was someone that was looked at with esteem. The woman trusted him. He was in a position to be able to make positive impact within the community, but he had to feel so powerful over somebody's life that he had to beat a 6-year-old baby to death. It's sick. You need to listen to what these men are talking about. You need to listen to what they're aspiring to. You need to listen when they say things like, oh, women, single mothers are for recreational use. I'm not for any kind of use. I'm not accessible to you. I'm nothing to you. And I will continue to be nothing to you. My children are not accessible to you. You don't see us, but I see you. When you hear people downing people, but at the same time coveting access to them, some kind of power over them, you need to think about that. You need to be real with that. And now is not the time to be playing around. And they just, no, men do this. And no, it's not the freaking time. Because you never know when you're going to be the person that everybody's sitting around and saying, oh yeah, it couldn't be me. She should have known this. She should have known that. Listen to them and think about the implications of the stuff that they're saying. There isn't a sexual encounter you could have that's worth all this. There isn't a social media live or post. There isn't an amount of likes or comments or reposts or follows or anything that is worth going through what these women are probably going through right now. And I'm not saying that, specifically this lady right here, because she met this man in church. Like I said, he's gainfully employed. He seems to be doing well about himself. He's fairly good looking. So she had every reason to believe, or rather no reason to believe, that he was so fucking fucked up that he would do something like this to her baby. Hey, Themis. She had no reason to believe that he would do something like this to her baby. This isn't about vetting. This is about being clear about what it is you're going for, being clear about what it is you need, being clear about the fact that you don't need these niggas to the point where you let them be in control of you, be lord over you. Not now, Themis. Not now. I'm not now, okay? Kenny, please. Who were you? You where is it? You were saying something about somebody the other night. Kenny. Anyway, I'm not gonna let y'all take me off of my square. I'm not.
Here are so beyond the pale. I just can't even imagine this poor child enduring what he endured. And you talked about accountability. I can't imagine somebody going through with something like this. That what is described in the documents and in the DA's statement. You practice criminal defense. What drives somebody to do such a thing?
There's an ability to almost like disassociate yourself from the acts that you're committing and the idea that you're doing this upon a child. Clearly, he's having to ignore crying, screaming, pain, the injuries, the blood, the just the brokenness of a kid. You have to have an ability to just ignore all of those things and continue on with your attack and your onslaught. It's to the level that most, if anyone, just would not even be able to withstand after just a short while of witnessing it, not let alone to be the one inflicting such corporal punishment and essentially death upon an innocent child. It's just, as you said, beyond the pale of reason. But these are the facts that have to be proven. And when they're presented to a jury, assuming that this is what they're able to prove up, and it sounds like the DA has a pretty strong case to be out in front, essentially making these announcements and to be presenting these allegations to the public, it's going to be a hard road for this defendant to try to escape culpability and responsibility for his actions.
Dante, I'm a mom. You're a father. And we cover these things, these cases, and some of them are so horrific, but this is truly one of the most horrific. And I feel like I've had to say this too many times, that this is one of the most horrific things I've ever read about or seen.
Have you ever tried to visit a website only to have like 90% of it taken up by ads? Pi.org is a web browser extension that lets.
How do we prevent this? Obviously, little Chance's mother trusted this person to watch her son, to babysit him while she was working, trying to provide for her son.
Yeah, this is one of those, as a parent, as a father, as someone whose kids are entrusted to me to take them back and forth, whether they're coming over to spend the night or we're going out for some sort of activity. You would never lay your hand on another person's kid, let alone do something in this way. And for him to betray not only the trust of the mother, but also the kid, and frankly of society, you do not expect in your worst, most disgusting, if you will, dreams that something like this would occur to your child. And so I'm sure that mother is racked with nothing but pain and guilt. But guilt that she doesn't necessarily deserve, but guilt that any parent would feel because you weren't there to protect your son. You weren't there to protect your child. And so when people commit these type of crimes, there's not just the immediate victim who's affected. There's a ripple effect that goes through all the people who love that victim. And that person who was killed. And in this situation, the ripple effect, as you just said, it's affected us. And we didn't even know this family. We didn't know this kid. We didn't know this mother. But we do know what it is to act with decency and kindness towards a child. And this man turned into a tormentor. I mean, to beat a child with a piece of lumber to the point where they have gaping wounds, and then just to pour hydrogen peroxide on it and think that this is going to go away. He had to step beyond any type of sane thought and to think that you could do this and get away with it. He has to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of
the allegations are sickening. Dante Pointer, thank you so much for joining. Appreciate it.
So yes, there's that again. We can take a breath with that. Where is that comment? Not y'all in here acting a fool while we talk about this. The part about dissociation stands out, and that's again why I'm going to reiterate: don't take what these. I'm trying to watch my mouth. Don't take what these fools are saying lightly. When they're saying stuff like, "Oh, single mothers are for recreational use only," when they are dehumanizing single mothers and women, I'm the pride, all this type of stuff, that is all within the same scope. That is all on the same spectrum as something like this. This is an extreme case of it. ISIS's situation is an extreme manifestation of it. But it's all the same to me. And that's why, for me, it is so easy for me to just say, yeah, I don't want to be bothered. I don't want to be bothered. Because I'm not playing. And I'm not saying that someone who, like I said, wants partnership is playing. But this is real. You have to pay attention to this. You have to pay attention to what people are sympathetic to. You have to pay attention to people saying, oh, well, I could see how, a man could, everybody has this breaking point. That could never be my breaking point. There's never I have been frustrated to my wits end. I felt like my head was about to pop off. But to be able to do that to someone else's child, to a child, and like he said, to go to a place where you thought you were going to get away with it. It said, did the mom witness him doing the beating? No, she didn't. She left the baby with him, and that wasn't the first time. She left the baby, and they said that they found proof or indication that he had healed injuries on his shoulder outside of like his immediate wounds from that encounter, but he had healed wounds on his shoulder. But she had left him with him before to go to work. That's why I say, like, it's hard and it's real when women are trying to manage all these different things you're juggling as a single parent. Because you have to provide and you can't take your babies to work. And if you haven't been able to go to school, if you didn't go to school, if you're trying to go to school, like the factors of how do I factor in the time to do this and to travel here and go there, pick them up, drop them off, all this other, like there's so much, you need help. They said the mother didn't notice that. So I don't know, because all we saw was what was there. So who knows what she thought happened, what it actually was. That could have been an injury that he had while he was with her. I don't know. But I will say that just like with the clip we watched earlier, there are a lot of viable reasons why women will be hesitant to go to that place of, oh, this person is a danger, I need to get away from them. Because if, like I said, financially, they feel like they need that person, or they feel like that person has access to things that they won't be able to provide for themselves and their children if they don't have that person around, their money, their influence, their position in life. When it comes to this lady, she needed him to babysit, clearly. And not only that, it's a viable thing that they keep pushing and pushing and pushing, that boys need men around and boys need the leadership of men and you need a man in the house and blah, 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 blah. She was in the church. She met him in church. That church doctrine, if you are sincere, it is real. It is real. You be trying to do right. You be trying to listen to what the Bible tells you to do, you know, what these quote unquote well-meaning people tell you to do. You thinking that, oh, she thought she was providing that baby with the masculine leadership he needed. And again, you saw the pictures they had of that man. That man is getting awards and commendations. He's sitting around surrounded by kids. So he was propped up as a pillar of the community. Why wouldn't she trust him? Why wouldn't she trust him? So I want to be clear. This is not me saying, oh, well, you need to do this. There is no, what my point is, there is no perfect blueprint. You could be doing everything right. Your intentions could be 100% pure and you could still fuck up. The most important takeaway in this, and why I will continue to give, no matter what comes out, I'm going to continue to give her props. Like, short of this being a scheme that Todd set up, that she's just completely lying about what happened, I'm going to give her props. I'm talking about Isis, for being willing to publicly put herself in the arena to be dragged, to be judged, to have the finger pointed at her, for people to call her a bad mom and all this other stuff that comes with speaking out against abuse like this, about out against a man. I will give her props for being willing to do so, and quickly. Whatever, if she did have blinders on before, when it became real enough to her, she did not push it aside. Because honestly, the clips I saw of her, you know, with the kids crying and stuff in the background, that's just being a mom. Kids make a lot of noise. They be fighting, they be arguing, they be crying, they be whining. So I'm reluctant to just be like, oh yeah, it was definitely going down and she just didn't want to know. I don't know that. And that's not enough for me as a mother and someone who's been around kids in a house that's not always in the same room. They make noise. But when she saw what she said she saw, you know, in an area that she shouldn't have seen it on her baby, she moved. And that is what is important. That is what needs to be emphasized. Everybody wants to keep dragging, okay, people got pregnant. Okay, they was messing with these dudes. And don't get me wrong, I had my stuff to say. I had my opinions about that. We'll talk about that stuff another day. But right now, the most important aspect is that when you know better, you do better. And you don't give a fuck who's going to say what. You don't care about who's going to try to come at you. You just secure your children. You just secure your children. That's it. That's all. That's all that matters. She says, they blame the mom so they can live in Delulu. The femininity channels are blaming a lack of vetting. And that's something else. Okay, rant. Incoming rant. I am so sick and tired of all these grand poobahs. I am so sick and tired of all these opportunistic banshees sitting around, perched around like vultures, squawking and squawking about nothing, offering nothing. The most important thing I feel like that we were giving as human beings was our minds, the ability to reason, the ability to think, the ability to create. And so any space that you go into where people are wanting you to mold yourselves into extensions of them and their thoughts and their ideologies, you need to reevaluate, sis. You need to reevaluate your priorities. I know it feels good when someone's saying, fuck these niggas. I know. Because fuck these niggas, right? Fuck them. That's valid. That's real, right? But in these days and times, with this type of stuff going on, you never know when it can be you. You need to keep your head on a swivel. And don't get me wrong, I spend enough time, indulging in mess. I do. But I'm also, first and foremost, willing to ask myself, okay, how do I see myself in this mess? There's too many of us sitting around in these spaces because we're in a comfortable seat of feeling like we're able to sit up high and look down low. That is not a fruitful use of your time. Like I said, indulge, I do. But make sure you're doing your personal work. And I know people may say, oh, well, you got a book and you got this and da 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 da. Okay, I do. But I'm going to tell you this, if you ain't know nothing about me, I'm not here to try to tell you what to think. I'm here to try to teach you how. I'm here to teach you how to figure out what your priorities are. I'm here to teach you how to figure out how to discern who and what is for you. And I don't need you to attribute it to me, right? Because we're all just kind of espousing timeless wisdom of the ages. So if you don't take nothing else away from this, you need to understand that if you're watching people that are judging other people that you feel like you're so removed from, what you're also doing is internalizing the message that you need to be perfect too. You're building yourself a cage. You're building yourself a box. Because when the time comes where you fell short, when the time comes when you have been fallible, where the time comes where you need a little grace or just space to figure your shit out, you're going to be remembering and replaying the stuff that you were saying about people or the stuff that you were clapping at about people. You following me? You need to be the change you want to see in the world. Now, again, I am a human being. I have some harsh opinions, but that's why I try not to bring it here to Level Up Single Mom, because Kiana's Kiana. I'm me. I belong to me. But Level Up Single Mom is for all of us. Level Up Single Mom is the safe space where we could come in and we're all equal and it shouldn't be no shame. Kitty, you need to leave. You need to leave. Get out. Hi, Anti. It's time to be so real and so true about how it is we're spending our time and what it is we are reinforcing within our egos and our personalities. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you got to be a pushover. I'm not saying you got to be, a dummy or a fool. But first and foremost, be real. Be real about all of it. Be real about your nice and your nasty. Okay? Because it'll make it easier for you. Says the tripped out part she did what women are told to do. She and her babies were still harmed. So what is the answer? Exactly. This is how y'all treat supporters over here. I'm not supporting your mess. We can only aspire to your level. Okay, don't encourage him. Do not. So I so agree. Attention is expensive and it's new. Okay. And we're just giving it out. Like I said, anybody that you may think of that I might be talking about, I probably am. Right. And I like a little bit of everybody. for different reasons. Like there's stuff that I like, but it's some people that are just so like embedded in this stuff to the point where it's just like, oh well, yeah, we got to go against this person and don't listen to that person. I'm listening to everybody, including these niggas, and that's the problem. Because y'all listen to the people that make you feel good, and you listen to stuff that make you feel good, and it includes people that don't mean you good. You got to train yourself to hear the stuff you don't want to hear. You got to train yourself to be willing to sit with the things that you don't want to hear and you don't want to accept. Because that is how you get to the point of actually being able to do something and course correct when you do stray. But I'm gonna get down off my soapbox because we have some more stuff. I have something else to share with you guys. Let me get out of this. Yeah, this is it. Hold on. Let me share it with you. Sorry. Let me give you context on what's happening here. So this is a documented child predator, and he is explaining the methods that he uses in choosing what kids to target.
How did you get them alone?
Grooming. I would check out their family situation. I would check out their clothing to see how well they were, financially. I would check out their social interaction with other kids. When we were on the ballparks or on the gym floor, I would make sure which ones I wanted to molest. I would give them special attention, congratulate them, talk to them when I know that I would never be allowed to talk to anybody else. Aside from everybody, I would give them the attention that an official is not supposed to give anybody. And it made them feel like, wow, he's paying me attention. It is a direct form of grooming.
Were there certain characteristics that you looked for in children before molesting them?
In children, yes, but more I also looked at their families. If I thought the father was a threat, I would not approach the child. If I thought that the child had friends that he would tell, I would not approach him. If I thought the child had friends that were in the same capacity he was, I would approach him. For the simple fact that if I could molest him, I could lure him into grooming him into believing that he would enjoy it. And therefore, I could manipulate him into having his other friends come and be molested by me as well.
So perhaps a child that doesn't really have a whole lot of friends, maybe not really a strong family, things like that.
Yes, no spiritual values, weak in education, needs help in many ways, even from split parenting, has a mother who may be having problems with the family, well, here comes superhero in to help out, wow, well, thank you very much. No problem. You ever need to take him away for the night so you can have a night out? No problem. It works.
How did you find your victims?
I found my victims moving from town to town. I scoped them out on school grounds. I scoped them out in Little League Diamonds. I scoped them out in my own backyards, my neighborhoods, and things like that. I worked with people who had younger brothers. I socialized with those people so I could get in touch with their younger brothers and begin the grooming process. And eventually, it would take time, but I knew what I was doing. It was all calculated. I mean, this is nothing that happened overnight. I knew it, and I planned it all. It started out where I would move from one town to another. When I got located in one town, I would, survey the children in the town to see. It was always a small town. It was never a big one. Because big towns have big police forces, and big police forces tend not to be very friendly. Small towns have small police forces. They probably never even heard of a child molester or a sex offender, or never even had to deal with one. I knew that. At least I played upon that. And I got involved in Little League Baseball because I knew from my high school days that I could umpire Little League Baseball. I could umpire baseball. I was good at it. I was good at refereeing basketball and other sports because I could not play worth a crap in high school, but I enjoyed the sport so much that I did not want to not be a part of it. So I took up managing in high school, and then our coaches allowed me to referee intramural. And when I got to referee intramural, that gave me direct access to the younger boys. And that was how my molesting began, was in high school when I had direct access to the younger boys through the Intramural program.
Okay. So, yeah, pretty much. It is scary how methodical and matter of fact he was about it. But that's why I'm saying, like, it's so important to listen to people, because yes, he's just explaining it. He's just talking it, like saying it straightforward. But there are, I again, I don't want to give the impression I'm saying, oh, there are foolproof ways of, there's not. But I'm saying the more awareness you have, first of all, like he was saying, he went to places where he knew people weren't even thinking like this. People weren't even aware that stuff like this was possible. You get what I'm saying? And I'm not saying go out and seek out these things to put into your psyche, but what I'm saying is when it is presented to you, take it at face value and put it in your mental Rolodex to refer to, right? You need to, when you're sitting around in these spaces, ha ha, he and dragging and kikiing about the the ridiculous stuff that these men are saying. Yes, laugh at them, but take it seriously. Take it seriously, because they are telling you, people, that there's an element of believing that you can get away with it. There's an element of understanding that people are more focused on, like I said, those very real concerns that they have about how they're going to eat or how they're going to live, or whether or not they have, proper male representation and authority within the life of their children, you know, whether or not they are validated through marriage, through being chosen. They know all of this stuff. They know all of this stuff. So what I'm saying is, you can't be so caught up in it. You have to examine it. You have to examine, is this thing that I'm believing putting me in a position where I am making myself vulnerable to a predator? Because what kind of person is so focused on being in control of me, of being in control of my children? Why can't I have a relationship with a man that doesn't center around him being in control of me? Why is this man on so focused on me giving away my personal power and power over my children to him? Because once you make that into something that's not normal for you, that doesn't sit right with you, guess what? You just might go fall into people, men, that don't believe that don't think that way. But if you're thinking, oh, that's normal, men will be men, boys will be boys. That's what men need. They need that aggression. They need those things because they're men and we're women. And the divine feminine and the divine masculine and yada, 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 yada. No. No. There are certain principles that are just human principles. Decency, dignity, reciprocation, care, concern. Those are the things that you need to be, when we're sitting and watching these things and people are talking about what a high value man is a high value woman, and they're giving all of these attributes that intoxicate the senses. I'm this tall. Stuff that people can be fetishistic about. I'm this tall. I'm a black man. I make a certain amount of money. Whatever. When they're saying, oh, single mothers are just for recreational use. You know what burns me up the most about it is there are so many women going around and acquiescing to that. There are so many women going around and just being like, oh, yeah, it's just for fun. I'm just saying, I just don't want to. There's so many women going around like, hey, it's not that big of a deal. It's just sex. These people are sick. These people are sick. So that's all of the clips I have. That's all the clips I have for us. But what I will do is drop the link in case there's anybody wanted to like give their thoughts on the things we just watched. And for anyone who came in, like you didn't come in the beginning, please go back and watch from the beginning, because there was a live I did a couple years ago, and I reviewed a review of a show where the lady was kind of sold her son out to sexual abuse because she wanted to live the lifestyle that the man she married could provide them. They were poor. And so when her baby, he was literally like a young child, came to her and said, hey, this man did this to me, instead, she kind of positioned him to make up this story about this Bobbity Book, kind of ghost or specter following him. And so then later on, when she couldn't deny it anymore, she brought that back up and was like, oh yeah, this thing is coming, it's trying to destroy our lives. And the boy had to say, no, bitch, I told you what happened and you didn't want to hear it, so I just made something up, that you were more comfortable with. She said, this is why I think it's so crazy when people put their kids on it. When I first started, I never really I did kind of back in the day, because I didn't really have too much going on. I was just like, oh yeah, my baby's so funny, my baby's so cute, she's so sweet, whatever. But when I actually started doing Level Up Single Mom, I found myself being kind of reluctant, because I didn't want to feel like I was relying on them to like sell myself and put on airs about, oh, I'm such a great woman, our lives are so perfect, yada yada yada. And then when I got on TikTok, and I think I saw a TikTok about how if you look when there's TikToks and media of children, and you'll see the number of bookmarks and things, and how there's a lot of, pedophiles in that number. And I said, huh. So then I took down the few TikToks, at least, that I had of my younger daughter. So yeah. But did anybody, if nobody wants to come up, let me see something. Hold on. All messages. Okay, good. I pinned it. So yeah, I just pinned the link if anybody wants to come up and say anything about what we watched and what I was talking about. Am I still sharing that? I don't want to share that. Hold on. I'm going back and forth. Anti says the writer Alice Munro turned a blind eye to her daughter being abused by her husband. Oh, what's that? Who was that? She said that. You can send it to me in the Discord so I can read up on that, because I might revisit this if more things come up. This subject, I mean, and it's a really sensitive but important subject, because it permeates the experience of being a single mother. And I said so in my book. Like, I was so scared. A big part of why I was so caught up in trying to get my youngest daughter's father, not my youngest, my oldest daughter's father, to be with me, was partially because I was so concerned about the idea of going out into the dating pool as a single mother, and kind of having awareness of how single mothers were being targeted, and that whole they're just for recreational use type of thing, and recognizing that could mean that people who are interested in children could be targeting me as well, because they felt like I was desperate, because I was so exposed, because I didn't have, quote unquote, protection around me. Seemingly, I had a lot of protection around me, though. I come from a very matriarchal family, but we ain't to be played with, right? And I'm learning now, in my being older and having people kind of talk to me about me, when I was younger, people was a little scared of me too. But that is because I think that I had enough awareness that it's clear. Because I think one of the main takeaways of what that man in the yellow was saying about like how he would choose his victims and this and that and the other is that there's a level of awareness that's not there. There are certain things there are certain blind spots that he recognizes as a means of him being able to get in. So if you're too distracted, and this is something that is in my book, I talk about as a single mother being distracted from your child because you're either trying to avoid processing the emotions you have about your situation, regret, frustration, loneliness, all those types of things, and the ways you don't really go inward and process that. You're just, like I said, looking for stimulation. You're looking for sexual stimulation. You're throwing yourself into your work. You're becoming very materialistic. So you're just focused on acquisition and attaining and striving and getting more and more and more and more and more. But your relationship with your kid is not tight. That's where somebody can come in and be what you're not being to your child emotionally. You get what I'm saying? That's so important. That is so important. And it's not about scaring your children. That's something else. Very paternalistic views of parenting and I'm going to say parenting in general, because the belief is that because you're the single mother, you think that the way to keep your kids safe is for you to become harder and meaner, and more of that stereotypical male presence. No, get that shit out of here. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of gendering things. I'm tired of gendering bad behaviors, right? And either gendering bad behaviors to dismiss things that are attributed to the feminine and to uphold things that are attributed to the masculine, but are shitty. That's something that's a little tidbit, you can pick it up, put it down, leave it, whatever. But that's one of the main reasons why I don't gender things. Because I feel like it helps me to kind of see stuff clearer. Because there's a lot of negative stuff that's attributed to both the masculine and the feminine, but gets prioritized in the wrong way because it's attributed to masculine and feminine, depending on what the situation is. So being vulnerable, being acquiescing in all things, that's attributed to feminine. You're supposed to do that as a woman. No, the hell you aren't. That's not good. Turn your brain on. Keep it on. It needs to stay on. You need to stay aware. You need to keep your head on a swivel. Don't let these dudes play with you. Or, like I said, being a grade A asshole. Oh, well, that's masculine. He's got swagger. His ego is so big. No, get him out of here. He's bad vibes. I don't like him. Get him away from me and mine. And teach your children. Give your children space to say to you, Mommy, I don't like that person's vibes. That, children should be seen, not heard, and do as I say, not. There's so much that is done, like I said, as a shortcut to the real work of establishing stable and healthy relationships with ourselves and with our children. I said on a couple of lives that I've done, I've spoken on the panels for Themis. I mentioned, being lazy, people being emotionally lazy, and people were really triggered by that. But that's what it is when you think, I'm just going to bulldoze my way through it. I'm just going to put on a persona of a facade of being in control. What was that? A facade of being in control, a facade of being tough, a facade of being, forceful. if you got, first of all, if you feel the need to do that, you might be in the wrong space, period. You know what I mean? Like that, your system is not regulated. If you feel like you gotta puff up, those are survival mechanisms in nature. Everybody loves to compare us to animals and stuff, right? Well, in nature, when something feels like it has to make itself bigger than it is, when it feels like it has to put on to scare somebody away, that's just temporary. You don't stay like that. That's not the way you live. We got to be mindful. We got to be aware. And we have to be honest. And like I said, part of being honest is about being able to say in the moment, I made a mistake, a grievous mistake. No matter how embarrassing, no matter, what people may say about you, you do what you need to do and say what you need to say in order to set things right. Spark Joy says, but if you said they needed to do inner work to get a husband, listen to me. I'm tired. I am so tired. It's frustrating to me. I feel, and not to discount you all, because I so appreciate you. And if I haven't said it already, thank you so much for showing up. Thank you so much for consistently showing up, for believing in me, for giving me the positive feedback that you do. Like, I do see you and I treasure it. But I cannot lie. It frustrates me to see the amount of attention currency being wasted on bullshit, being wasted on pomp, circumstance, and puffery, being wasted on people who are just looking to turn their followers into extensions of themselves. Because my thing is, I can believe something, you can believe something. I don't need you to believe what I believe in order for me to be happy and secure in what I believe. And while I do recognize that it would probably help me in a lot of ways if more people were at the very least interested in what I had to say, it doesn't matter to me and I don't want it unless I'm actually helping people. Like, that's just not a secondary thing. That's the primary focus. That is why I created this situation. That is why when I was 19 years old, sitting, against the wall, holding my little baby, and I heard that voice tell me I was going to figure it out and I was going to help people. That's the energy with which I move in. And I know I'm going to get everything I want. I already get everything that I need. So like I said, the most important takeaway from this is that no matter what is going on with you, no matter how shameful it is, no matter what your fears are about how you'll be received or who's going to be mad at you or, what you will lose. If you have awareness, even a little bit of awareness, that you need to make some changes, that you need to get out of that situation, that you need to stop dealing with that person, that you need to cut off access to you and or your children from that person, then now's the time to move on it. Because when something is brought into our awareness, even if it's somebody else, that means that you needed to hear it. Because there may be something coming up along the bend that'll put you in that same position. So with that being said, I want to thank you all for showing up. Oh, thank you, Anti. I think so too. And I just hope it reaches the people that need it. That's my prayer for everything. So I want to thank you all for coming, spending some time with me. I need to get off of here because I have homework to do and I have to get ready. I'm going to a Friendsgiving, which is cool. I'm going to try to see if I can. There it is. Okay. So yes, I can do an outro. I don't know what was going on. Girl. Oh, wait, I'm going to do this first. But yeah, I will say I'm asking you guys, please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. Please share. Tell your friends, tell your girlfriends, everything, because even though I'm talking about like, oh, you don't have to listen or whatever, I still feel like
I am in charge of the girls.
Are you in charge of the girls?
I am in charge of the girls.
Okay,
I'm in charge of the motherfucking girls, okay? And we, I know this was heavy, but we're gonna have fun over here. Now, oh yes, I have something very, very exciting coming up in the new year. Can't say too much right now, but I'm working on something behind the scenes for Black women having to do with I spoke about being very scared and hurt after the election and just having this feeling of what is this? Hold on, I'm trying to clean my thing up behind the scenes, so of course it's going to embarrass me. But I had been just really concerned about my safety and peace of mind after the election. So I'm working on something with a bunch of people that I care deeply about and believe in, and that believe in me, to try to provide us with. Hold on, who this? Try to provide us with a sense of is this Kenny? Come on, Kenny. Why you ain't say nothing in the thing? I didn't know. How I get you in here? There you go. Hi, Kenny.
Hi, Vitamin. You
How are
know,
you?
you don't have to pretend. You didn't want to hear from me. It's okay. Because I've been
Shut
in here
up.
for like a good 10 minutes. It's
I
all right,
didn't
though.
listen. It's getting wild.
It's all
Okay.
right. It's all right. It's all right. It's okay.
Don't. What's
Don't no
going
one want to hear
on?
from little old Kenny. It's all
I want to hear from big old Kenny. How are you, Boo?
right. I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I cannot complain. Y'all making me laugh all the time, every
Can you
day.
hear that in the background?
Yeah, but it is what it is. We live in the hood.
Yeah, no, that's a man on a he's on what's it called? He's suspended and he's cutting down a tree with a
Oh,
chainsaw. It's
that's
crazy. He has the
interesting.
chainsaw. Yeah, he has a chainsaw on his waist and he keeps climbing the tree and he's like cutting it. It's crazy.
Is it
Because
his
first of
job
all,
to do that, or is he just doing
yeah,
that?
no, he's a trim. No, he's a trimming guy.
Okay. 'Cause I'm like,
Yeah,
wait a minute.
but I thought that when you hear the motor, that a chainsaw was always running. That's how they make it seem like in horror movies. But apparently, you can rev the motor, and then when you like press a button, that's when it activates. So like you can always, I guess maybe people were cutting off their own legs, and that's why they think chainsaws have gotten an upgrade. Is all I'm saying because I was watching.
The
Also, he's
one and
fine, so
only.
I was definitely watching.
Okay. Well, what's going on with you?
Oh, I'm good. I'm chilling. I
Good.
was gonna.
Oh, I gotta tell you, and you'll be excited. Um, I got my piece for my to hold my phone now. So this week
Oh,
I
the
was
arm, like to hold it so you can film, um, like the thing you clamp onto the desk and then it holds your phone up.
well, it goes on top of the tripod, but yeah.
Oh, dope. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that is
So we're
exciting.
back in business.
Yeah, I like that. That's good. Demon, shut up.
He ain't come up here. Let me see. Did he come up here? Nope, he ain't come up here. But
Yeah,
you
see,
came
that's
up
been
so that
getting
I
on my
wasn't
nerves
just.
all morning.
Oh, I'm sorry. But you know how it is when we live where we live,
Yeah, they woke me
living in
up
the
and
big
I'm
city.
very upset. But I was gonna
Oh,
ask, how do you, he's getting on my nerves. How, I was gonna ask, because maybe I missed it. How did you relate the situation with like the kid with the barber? Oh my God, that chainsaw is really distracting me. How did you
this is
relate the
something
situation with the
really.
kid with the who got beaten by the barber who beat the kid to death to ISIS? Is that who you were talking about?
Yeah. So I was
Okay,
just saying, first and foremost, that it's people are talking in ways that implicate that wanting community with men and um allowing people that you trust enough to have around you access to your children is ill advised or like crazy or weird or something. And I was saying, like, if you are of the mindset where you feel like you can be in community with people, it makes sense that you extend a certain amount of trust to them. And also in situations where they have attributes about themselves that are preferential within society. So, for instance, with ISIS, she was of the belief that having a well to do man was preferential, that you were doing what you needed to do to secure yourself a man of a certain caliber. So she saw him a certain way, probably because he was older and because he had a certain amount of money in her eyes that made him, seem smart and capable. And what's that called? Smart and capable, that she felt like she was safe with him. And the same thing with the barber guy. They showed pictures of him that showed that he was like a pillar of his community. She met him in church. They showed a picture of him holding some kind of commendation award or something. They showed a picture of him surrounded by a bunch of, I'm guessing, neighborhood kids or whatever. So clearly he was someone that was posturing himself as a pillar of his community. So it makes sense that she thought, especially with those types of messages being pushed to single mothers, that, oh, you're supposed to have a good man around you. If you don't have a good man around you, you're doing your kid a disservice. They're going to fall prey to this, that, and the other. And that makes you a bad mom. It makes sense that she would look for someone, a man, to be around her son. And why not that particular man that, like I said, if you compare him to everybody else on paper, he got it going on. So it's unfair to expect women, unless they're going to be, like I said, of my mindset, to just like, fuck them all, to expect them not to trust and be trusting. And it's just not always, things like this are going to happen. It's very unfortunate. But to sit and harp on the fact that a mistake was made is crazy, instead of, like I said, acknowledging with ISIS specifically that she was willing to knock all the shit off the table and say, hey, yeah, okay, I know y'all gonna drag me, but no, I'm gonna stop right here. I was wrong. I was saying this, but this is what happened, and now I need to take care of my babies. That's important.
yeah, I actually really commend her for because me, I would have vanished. You would have never seen me again.
The
It would have been
way
like, what?
it would have all been shut down.
Right. It would have been like, what happened to Kenny? I would have been gone. I would have left.
You would have just one day, years down the line, hey, wait a minute. When did somebody level up? What? Who was that? That's all that would happen. Because, baby.
All right, get the Mrs. Comment. Also, we have to have a chat about who you mod in here because it seems like you just let anyone up in here. But that's because who is that man with the fake ass glasses? Please get out of my face. No.
Well,
But I'm not gonna start beef. I'm not gonna start beef. I do really give her a lot of I give her a lot of props because to come on the internet and say you were wrong after you, there are a lot of content creators. I do not see them doing that. I do not.
It's
Like
content creators right now dragging her that still got stuff they never spoke to in a real way. Not y'all beefing. This is a Black woman centered space. You take your beef elsewhere, gentlemen.
Oh, I'm not welcome here? Wow. That's why she kept me in the back so long.
I said take your beef. Not your buns.
As long as you see the buns, period.
What does he say? The bar is it? You still cannot be it. Good day.
First of all, they're landscaping. That's a landscaping company. So, you know what? Why am I arguing?
Why are you arguing
am I
with
giving
him?
people
Don't
energy?
even argue with him.
I don't even know why I'm giving him energy.
Oh Lord. Well, Thank you so much, Kenny. You always show up consistently. I'm going to take this moment to highlight Kenny as a gentleman and a
Period.
scholar because you be coming up helping.
Mhm.
Nobody ever wants to talk to me anymore. People used to rap. People used to chop it up with me back in the day. I don't know what happened.
They fake.
Nobody wants
That's
to
what
talk
happened.
anymore. But I appreciate you so much.
No, I appreciate you too. That's why I came up. I was like, okay, if no one's gonna go up, then I was like, okay, I'll go up.
Aw. Well, thank you. So now I'm going to add. I figured out how to do it now because I don't know what the heck was going on, baby.
Buy the book.
Buy the book. How about that? Yeah, let's talk about the epidemic of that crack rock. I'm gonna get this up here. Oh wait a minute, that's the Cash App too. If you wanna contribute, that's fine. But again, liking, sharing, and subscribing is perfectly good currency here. Love it, love it, love it. Please share, please share, please share. Oh yeah, so goals. I want to get to 1,000. Are these followers or subscribers here? Whatever.
Subscribers.
Subscribers, yes. So
No, you're not aim. No, you're not aiming for 1,000. You're aiming for 5,000. So
I'm
if you
aiming for
fail, you still got more.
5,000. Come on,
Yeah.
masculine frame. I'm aiming for 5,000 subscribers on this channel. So please like, share, subscribe. And especially if you think that this is like we're having important discussions. Like I don't want you just bringing people over here so I can run my mouth. You see, I don't be on here regularly because I'll be trying to wait until I have something substantial to say. So if you believe in what it is I'm doing here, if you believe in the messages that I'm putting forth here, please, share and make sure you get people over here to stuff because there's so many other things, like I said, coming down the pike that we are doing.
The
And
crazy thing is, I was gonna recommend you to my mom. Like I was gonna tell her to get the book,
Mhm.
but I feel like y'all gonna become friends and talk shit about me. So
You
I
said
was
that.
like, no. I was like, no. I was
Just
like,
because
ooh,
your mom loves it.
literally, I promise you, I talked to her. I was like, oh, one of my friends has a really good book about like being a single mom and stuff. And she was like, oh my God, who is she? And I was like, wait a minute. Mm-mm. Because she be blasting Alicia all the time. Like I recommended Alicia to her. She be watching Alicia. I'm like, mm-mm,
Because Alicia
it's
is that
getting too
girl. And
close.
that's something
It's
else
getting
too.
too close.
If you're
I was like,
using
no.
Pandora or whatever streaming services for music that you use, create an Alicia Release the Artist station. You're welcome. It's going to change your life. It's going to change your life. And
No, her
I'm
music is so
highlighting,
good.
you talk about highlighting the king on a black woman's space. No, he did. What Confidence with Love be saying? Kenny has bent the knee. So he's all right with me. Okay. He knows the deal over here.
I do.
He's in service to the queen, period. So I can't, he
Yeah,
can
I
hang
was like,
out.
I don't know if I want you buying her book because she was about to. She asked me who it was by, and I was
Mhm.
about to say your name, and I was like, you know what? No, no,
Not
because
you trying to hoard me.
I genuinely feel like you guys would become friends, and I don't appreciate that.
That's crazy. What are you hiding? What are you hiding?
I'm not hiding anything. I
That's
just
most
don't want.
real
You're
king.
my friend. You're not because she already took my other two friends. She took literally
Oh.
two of my friends and one of my friends' mom. She didn't take them. Like we're still all friends, but like
Mhm.
she'd be like, she'll text me and she'll be like, "Oh, we're going out to dinner. You want to come?" What do you mean? Do I want to come to dinner with my
Not you
friends?
hating.
Absolutely not.
So was she supposed to just sit by herself all the time while you out running the streets?
Yes.
No.
Okay.
See,
No.
no.
No. But like, you know
Exactly.
what I mean. Like,
So,
not my friends.
no, everybody is a
They be
community.
texting her like that's their mom. Absolutely not. No.
It's a community. Chica is coming at your neck. She said, I'm stopping your bag.
Period.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes, I
don't
am.
be like Thebes because he has yet to drop the pearl of his mom's skincare. He keeps playing in our faces. I didn't forget.
I ain't got time for it.
I didn't forget. Y'all just holding back industrious black women thriving.
No,
Enough.
because I don't have time for you to be in the Discord talking about like, you know what your mom told me the other. No, absolutely not.
I
Absolutely not.
would never.
No.
I would
She
never.
would though. She would. She would become best friends with you and talk shit. Like she would. She like, you know this nigga,
I want
you know Kenny
to
been fucking with this nigga.
your
She would tell my tea to you. She would.
Oh goodness.
Absolutely not.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and play this outro. I'm going to end this and I'll be poking around in the Discords, the various Discords I'm in to see what y'all doing. Y'all been very boring lately. I don't know what's going on. I need y'all because I'll be popping
Who
in.
been boring?
I'll be popping in to
Wait
keep
a
me
minute.
company while I'm doing all this stuff. I feel like an
You left
octopus.
last night. You know what happened? Chica, tell me if I'm wrong. You followed Themis's Kangly lead. Me and Chica were watching an extremely goofy movie last night. I
You
don't know
what?
what y'all
I'll
were
be
doing.
honest with you. Auntie getting old. I be falling asleep.
It was
I
like
be so
9
tired. I be
p.m.
like, let me just go ahead and get off of here before I wake up and be the only one in here. You know, I probably be falling asleep in the call.
So if I come to Philly and we hang out, you're gonna go to bed at 9 p.m.?
No, I'll stay up
No.
with
Mm-mm.
you.
Okay, but are you gonna be struggling to stay up?
No, if I'm up and
Because
out
I'm gonna
and
just tell
doing
you to
stuff,
go to sleep.
if I'm up and out and doing stuff, I can stay up. But if I'm like winding down and people just talking and stuff, like I'm gonna go to sleep.
Oh my God, you're such a mom.
No. Well, I mean, what you want me to do? I've been a mom for over 20 years.
Yeah,
What
no,
do you
yeah,
want
and it's
from me?
giving that. It's giving that. You're a mom. It's
I
giving
know
that
you
vibe
don't want to
very heavy.
believe it, but sir, I'll be 40.
Yeah, that's wild. You're actually no, my mom is gonna be 50, so you're like 10 years younger than my mom.
Listen, it'll happen to you too.
It will not happen to me.
It will. Don't
No,
you
it
say
will
that. It
not.
will happen to you.
No, it will not. I will be 90 and I will still be wearing crop tops. Don't speak that negative.
Wait a
Don't
minute.
speak
It
that
ain't got
on
nothing to
me.
do with how I. Oh, so now you saying I dress old? Mm-hmm. Think about it. Think about how you talking to me.
I didn't say that.
That's what you
Actually, I like
implying.
your outfits though. Yeah, I did not say that.
Oh man. All right. Well, I'm gonna
All
let
right,
you.
go ahead and play your outro.
I'm gonna play the outro, baby, because that's what we're doing here.
Roll smooth with a
All right. So thank you all for coming once again. Thank you to Kenny, a friend of the show, and just a friend in general. I love him to bits. Thank you everyone for coming through and commenting. Leave some comments down the bottom too. Like, get me in the algorithm. Help me. Okay, because I'm working really hard. I know it doesn't seem like it, but I'm doing so many things to try to like make real impactful change and difference in our lives. So just if you don't do nothing else, share with a friend. So I will see you guys next time and love you to bits. Toodaloo. Wait a minute.